handed us the script, but we don't gotta read it no more. Yeah. Same old story, different page. Same old ink on a different stage. Got my own people on the corner, pushing me closer to the edge with rage. Willie Lynch probably laughing in his grave, seeing centuries later we still enslaved. House divided, envy contagious, the blueprint still working. Ain't that outrageous? Yeah. Stack the odds, casino game. Bet against ourselves just to chase some fame. Another brother falls, everybody crying. Last week behind closed doors they was quietly plotting, trying to dim his light cause his future too bright. Crabs in the bucket pulling down every flight. Generational wounds passed hand to hand, fighting each other instead of the man with the plan. Iron chains became gold links, different metal, same prison when nobody thinks. Freedom ain't jewelry, freedom is soul. Can't buy liberation if your spirit been sold. We just echoes in the barrel, spinning circles every day. History whispers softly, but we keep looking away. They handed us the script, now we acting every part. Time to break the cycle, time to heal the broken heart. This ain't the dream they marched for, this ain't the future they could see. This whole thing was a setup, it's time we set ourselves free. Same concrete soaked with tears, same pain carried through the years, but we tear each other down for applause. Temporary likes while nobody heals. Call you a sellout when you lead a block. Soon as success make the whole world stop, but the real betrayal ain't broke the flight. It's poisoning your people out of envy and spite. You mad cause this watch gleam, mad cause our band gleam. Meanwhile the architects of the cage still counting money behind the scenes. They love the chaos, love the smoke, love watching family lose all hope. Another headline, another mother cry, another generation acting while they dying. The trap ain't poverty, the trap is division. The chains ain't visible, they're built from our decisions. We carry anger in our chests, years of trauma, years of stress, and pass it to our own bloodline. Instead of putting evil to rest, love became weakness, unity became strange, clout became currency. Everybody chained. Round and round we go, history keeps repeating, cause nobody let it go. But tonight we change the pole, we build every hope. This ain't the life they believe, the chains only live if we choose not to leave. Let the echoes disappear, let the barrel finally break. Leave the hate where it belongs, for our children's sake. No more jealousy, no more self-destruction, no more borrowed hatred. It's unity or it's nothing. We free, we free. They handed us the script, but we don't gotta read it no more. Yeah. Same old story, different page. Same old ink on a different stage. Got my own people on the corner, pushing me closer to the edge with rage. Willie Lynch probably laughing in his grave, seeing centuries later we still enslaved. House divided, envy contagious, the blueprint still working. Ain't that outrageous? Yeah, stack the odds, casino game. Bet against ourselves just to chase some fame. Another brother falls, everybody crying. Last week behind closed doors, they was quietly plotting, trying to dim his light cause his future too bright. Crabs in the bucket pulling down every flight. Generational wounds pass hand to hand, fighting each other instead of the man with the plan. Iron chains became gold links, different metals, same prison when nobody thinks. Freedom ain't jewelry, freedom is soul. Can't buy liberation if your spirit been sold. We just echoes in the barrel, spinning circles every day. History whispers softly, but we keep looking away. They handed us the script, now we acting every part. Time to break the cycle, time to heal the broken heart. This ain't the dream they marched for, this ain't the future they could see. This whole thing was a setup, it's time we set ourselves free. Same concrete soaked with tears, same pain carried through the years, but we tear each other down for applause. Temporary likes while nobody heals. Call you a sellout when you lead a block. Soon as success make the whole world stop. But the real betrayal ain't broke the flight, it's poisoning your people out of envy and spite. You mad cause this watch gleam, mad cause our band gleam. Meanwhile the architects of the cage still counting money behind the scenes. They love the chaos, love the smoke, love watching family lose all hope. Another headline, another mother cry, another generation acting while they dying. The trap ain't poverty, the trap is division. The chains ain't visible, they're built from our decisions. We carry anger in our chests, years of trauma, years of stress, then pass it to our own bloodline. Instead of putting evil to rest, love became weakness, unity became strange, clout became currency. Everybody chained. Round and round we go, history keeps repeating, cause nobody let it go. But tonight we change the pole, break every cycle, rebuild every hope. This ain't the life they believe, the chains only live if we choose not to leave. Let the echoes disappear, let the barrel finally break. Leave the hate where it belongs, for our children's sake. No more jealousy, no more self-destruction, no more borrowed hatred. It's unity or it's nothing. We free. We free.
Hey y'all, what's up? What's up? What's up? It's your girl Golden. We're back with another live. I hope everybody's having a great day. Sorry for the delay. It is about 2:30 p.m. Eastern time here in the United States in the Carolinas, and the weather outside is beautiful per usual. The sun is shining really bright, so y'all know what that means. I'm in an excellent mood, and we are charged up and ready to go. We have some great things that we'll be getting into on the live today as far as you can see Black History. And of course, I have my lovely co-host Imani here with me, and she will be chiming in with me to deliver some of this information, right? But we have to start off and kick off this live with a very, very important segment that we have included. That's called housekeeping. So we have some really important things that we'll be addressing in housekeeping today. But without further ado, we're going to get right into it. And I'm going to invite my co-host Imani up to come. And what's up, Imani girl? How you doing? How you feeling? What's going on?
I'm good. It's 7:30 p.m. here. The sun isn't shining. It's been a bit cloudy and overcast, but it's not cold, and it's been a good, relaxing Sunday. I've just been watching I just watched actually a bit of Cultivated Kai, and yeah, I love his content. I really enjoy it. He's eclectic. He adds a little bit of everything with a little bit of Kai spice, which is what I love. Um, but let me get right on to the housekeeping. It's not as gonna sorry, it's not going to be as lengthy as yesterday, but I wanted to address one important thing. The first thing we're going to do, and anybody who knows Mel, and we will tag her in the post, we want to issue an apology to Mel. Now, the key thing is, Mel, I'd just like to tell you, if you go back over the last 5 videos, I've been encouraging people to go and listen to your content, said you got some real good content out there. And that was the reason why Golden went over to your live the other day. Unfortunately, it didn't end as it started because, and I say this to you, Mel, not not because I want to involve you in anything, because people who have previous gripes with Golden, with this channel, decided to bring their BS to your channel. Now, the key thing is, Golden and I have had a long, lengthy discussion about this because it was not necessary. It didn't involve you. There are bigger issues than what was being brought up on that live. And Golden reacted because of what was going on and the people that came there to cause disruption and bring their chaos to your channel. Now, I believe that we can all support who we want to. And when we go to that channel, we keep our gripes to ourselves. We keep our bullshit to ourselves. We don't bring it to someone else so we can disrupt their program and spread the chaos that we have been spreading on our own channels elsewhere. That's just how I see it. And so you, Nick, and you, Lady Letitia, decided you wanted to bring the chaos where Golden was. And this is what you've been doing again and again. Now, my advice to you is stick to doing what you normally do, which is going in your favorite channels and talking about Golden and her mother and her son and any other personal business you want to talk about. But Golden came there because I advised her to go and support Mel. And that is what we intend to do because the chaos and division you are hoping to achieve is not going to happen. Not on my watch. So you can keep that BS right where it started because you love to do this. You want to spin a narrative, you want to create chaos, and you want to spread it elsewhere like it's some disease. And we're not having it because Golden and her mother don't have anything, any gripes with Mel. And this is why they're issuing an apology to Mel today. Because I said Mel's channel is one we should support. And anybody who wants to know that I've been saying this over about the last 5 lives can go and listen to the beginning of every live. So do not start with your BS. I am tired of it. And I told you yesterday, I'm tired of it. But I would like to ask you something, Nick, because I'm interested in some of the stuff you do. You talk about genealogy. You talk about things that you were hired by the Atwoods to do. And you said on one live on Vampies, around about March, because I remember when you said it, that you were hired to do a DNA profile on Julia Wendell. Julia Wendell is the fraudster who pretended to be the McCann's daughter. So I'd be really interested in what came about from whether you did that DNA profile, because it's really interesting because she went to jail for stalking the McCanns. And I am genuinely interested if you did that profile and what the result was, because that's something you're an expert in. And I am interested in genealogy because I did do some science when I was doing my studies. I will tell you, I will watch that live if you come out and you do that and you produce that. But as I said, Mel, apologies for what happened. I it's not what I would have wished for. And Golden and Mama D would like to say some words. Lady Letitia, I think I have spoken yesterday, and we all spoke yesterday about what we think about certain stuff you've been doing. But in future, do it on your own lives. Strike up a live and talk shit like you normally do. But before Mama and Golden come up and issue their apology to Mel's World, I also want to address one other thing, which Nick brought up when she came to Mel's channel. You asked Golden, and I'm going to speak it because I've observed it, okay, whether you like it or not. You asked Golden why she can't forgive Vampy. Well, let me just give you a few pointers on forgiveness starts when someone is actually sorry for what they've done in the past, okay, and issues an apology. So let's just talk about what Vampy, and Vampy, I'm mentioning your name today just about this. No other reason. And we don't mention your name on any other day, and we don't talk about you. So let me just explain, Vampy, okay? Every single day you strike up a live, you have some comment to say about Golden. In fact, you ramped it up to the point where you made a video about Golden, calling her a gully gator, the mud queen of the sewers. Okay. Um, I can't remember what else, but basically, you were saying that she resides where the shit falls, okay, in the sewers. You said she and her mother are crackheads. You said you don't think she only has one child, you think she's got about 3. And you made very, very many, and you've done this daily, daily, daily for about 6 months, and everybody says it's jokes. Yeah? Everybody says it's jokes, and we got to understand you because you've had a hard life. Well, let me tell you this, Vampy, okay? No one finds it funny. Also, in your chat, you've had people talking about Mama D's speech. Mama D has had a stroke. That's why she slurs. You've had people talking about Golden's boyfriend who's in a wheelchair, okay, who's disabled. That also is not funny. You talk every day about Golden, and Golden does not discuss you. Golden hasn't done anything to you. And Nick has the caucasity to come up and ask why you're not forgiven. And I'm not letting you off, Nick, because you're included in this. You and anybody else you invite, including Lady Letitia sometimes, okay? And our great activist as well, who we spoke about yesterday, Snoopy Tubman. All of you. And you think it's jokes, but no one is talking about you. You just seem to have a bee in your bonnet, okay? You, and including the woman, the bead woman of jewelry, who nobody cares about. But what all of you don't seem to tell anybody when you do this BS is Golden and her mother have not had a bad word, a bad finishing. They did not argue with you. You decided to do this. But every time you get a response, it's as if people have started talking about you without talking about them. Because you like to rewrite history. You like to rewrite your history with lies. Okay. You, Nick, spent many hours talking to Golden and her mother on the phone. Okay. Personal conversation. And you, bead woman. Okay. You, Vampy, I don't know what that's about. I think you have other issues going on, and I'm not going to expand on it because that's not my duty. But take accountability for your BS before you walk around trying to spin narratives about people. And not only that, between you and Lady Letitia, you've got about 110 years, and you're walking around causing chaos. You've got channels of your own where you could be doing great content. And I meant what I said about the genealogy, Nick. I meant what I said. But you don't do that. You go to every channel. You got people's name in your mouth every day. You guys have even talked about her child, her parenting, alcohol consumption, and you don't live in her house. And guess what? She never had a conversation about you after you left her channel. But you want to bring that chaos elsewhere because you're determined to cause chaos and division in this sector. And I will tell you, I will call it out. That's why I call it out, because you're disruptive. You're disruptive and you're doing it intentionally. So we see you. We see what you're doing. And Mel, I'd like to apologize for what happened on your platform. And like I said, as I said before, and I will include my list before I close and I let Golden and Mama talk. And then after that, I'd like to read something to start our live. I say to people, there are people out there who don't get the flowers for the content they produce. Now, when it comes to content that we listen to and we support, and people don't have to support it, you can support what you want, you can leave what you don't like. I like to say that these are the channels that I think are doing good stuff out there in different ways, and it's not for everybody. So we have Cultivate with Kai. I spoke about that earlier. We've got Kimmy Love, Unwind with Teddy, Mel's World, Gooditopia, but I can't find her channel, so I don't know if she's still online. We the People, Cups of Conversation, Judge Shady Court, Rosie Politics, Trevor Green, one of my favorites, Drop in the Tea, uh, Ralph the Wise, Maggie, and amongst the big content creators, I like Kempire and Mims. I'm sort of going around having a listen to different people, and also Conscious TV. Sorry, I keep forgetting to say that. Conscious TV. I do like his take on stuff. There are others, and there are others in the political sphere, but I'll deal with that when we're talking about the politics. But yeah, these are some of the people. Go support them, listen to them, everybody. Everybody. Some of them are doing great things. The content, it may be your cup of tea, it may not be. But yeah, please go out there. And there are people making music. Goody's making music. Golden's making music. Atlas is making music. Please go and support people, and please support them. Share their content if you like it. We need people to support people who are not normally given flowers for their work. And that's it. That's all until I have to read something before we start. But I'm going to hand it over to Golden and Mama.
Wonderful intro to the Housekeeping, Imani. I thank you so much for that. I love how you speak. But yes, everything that you said, per usual, girl, we on the same page. And there is something that needs to be done by me and my mother today. And one of those things is at the top of my list is to give Mel's World a sincere, heartfelt apology for the experience that happened on her channel and some of the response that we had yesterday, just operating out of anger and emotions, which sometimes we all can get like that. But yes, there is clearly a operation that, some of these individuals are doing, and we see we see why you're doing it, and we see how you do it. And it continues to happen. I, like you said, Imani, went over to show support, to watch a content creator. You said was a really great content creator and a very great person with a lot of wisdom and knowledge. And I experienced that on her channel. It was a very good time that I had there. And I do like her energy, her platform, and her content. Like you said, when others follow you and stalk you and come and bring issues that maybe you have to someone else's platform, I think that is what starts the trouble and the chaos, and is very distasteful. However, I have to take the accountability within myself that in that moment, I should have just left and not engaged with any of our prior discrepancies and bring that to another person's channel, which is basically their profession. You know what I mean? Like their workplace. So I apologize for allowing all of that to spill over on someone else's channel, and getting out of, pocket and speaking a little bit, or a lot of it hectically, from rage and anger and frustration, dealing with the things that transpire between me and these people consistently and daily. My mother is going to pop in just a moment, and she's also going to give her apology to Mel's World. Because, of course, like I said, as humans, when sometimes we get upset and our feelings and emotions get the best of us, we don't make the best decisions. And sometimes things just fly out of our mouth. And Mel's World honestly didn't deserve any of what she experienced in the past 2 days. Nothing that transpired on her channel and any of the responses and things that we had to say over here on my channel. As far as I know, like, she's cool, you know what I'm saying? And I will always promote and tell people to really check out her content and her channel. She's a dope person. She says, she's trying to be fair and neutral and really fully understand. And that's just all it is. That's the, hopefully she can hear this and she can see that is what's been happening for a very long period of time. And it's frustrating, and you have enough and you blow your lid. And sometimes you do that in the places where you should not. So heartfelt apology to you, Mel. I hate that all of that was brought to your platform and into your space and your energy. And now my mom's going to come on as well and apologize to you, because she did say some things on our live yesterday, just being caught up in the anger, the frustration, and the rage. So give me just a sec. She's coming.
Hello, everyone. This is DD Fox here. Hello to Mel's World. Mel's World, I'm going to come in and give you a sincere apology. There was some misplaced anger that occurred yesterday that I think I may have included you in, which you had nothing to do with. When I first encountered your live that night, I remember sitting on the sofa and I told my daughter, I said, I really like this live. This is a woman with intelligence and wisdom, and I really like the atmosphere, even down to your thumbnails. I love everything about your channel, and I remember encouraging my daughter Golden. I said, she's asking you to come up. I said, you need to go up because I really like her, and I still do. And when you were talking with Golden, as a mother, I seen you invest in wisdom into her that I also invest in my daughter. And I appreciate it because you were getting somewhere with my daughter. And I like that. But we had other antagonists on your channel that we have had past uh, problems with. And I became angered because they had came over and they caused you to get upset and start to curse and what have you. And you know how we are about our little cubs. I got a little misplaced anger and I may have said something awkward to you yesterday, but I'm taking that back. I'm giving you a sincere apology. You are from New York. I am from New Jersey. I think that we may be close in the same age and fine wine age, and I respect you. You appear to be a woman of dignity and intelligence. You did give respect, and I appreciate that. And I'm woman enough come forward and say or to give an apology when I am wrong and should be held accountable. I am so very sorry to you, Mel. I have subscribed to your channel. I want to join it and I will continue to support and would love to be a part of your channel and your live. So please, please accept my sincere apology. This is DD Fox, Golden's mother, and yes, please accept my apology. Misplaced anger is what it was.
Thank you, Ma. So yeah, that needs to be done because you have to be able to take accountability when you do something, that's not necessarily what really needs to happen. Like, yeah. So that's on that. We do have. Is there another a housekeeping topic that we're going to get into? There's someone else we're going to address as well, Imani.
No, my last thing, because if we've got nothing else, I just want to read something before we start our live. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's just get into it because it's already been 30 minutes, but that was
Okay.
important.
Yeah,
So,
this is just a quick reading. Um, this is about mastering your mind and protecting your peace. And I've been saying this all week. Calmness isn't something you find when life gets easier. It's something you develop while life is still challenging. Too many people react to everything, argue about everything, and allow other people to control their emotions. Real strength comes from learning to pause, think, and respond with intention rather, rather than reacting from anger or fear. What we have to learn is to listen first and respond last. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every argument deserves your energy. Sometimes silence is wisdom, and sometimes walking away is the strongest thing you can do. Peace grows when we stop trying to control things we cannot control. Other people, other people's opinions, and situations beyond our influence. Instead, focus on your mindset, your actions, and your purpose. Control your mind, or your mind will control your life. Protect your peace, choose your battles wisely, and don't let chaos rent space in your head. And remember, the strongest person in the room is often the one who remains calm when everyone else is losing control. Stay grounded, stay focused, and stay very blessed. And after how I went off yesterday, you guys are probably thinking, what? No, that is how I believe. Sometimes you got to pop out and show up, but most of the times you don't have to do every battle. And that's it. That's all for housekeeping.
Well done, well said. That is the truth. And we all are working. Well, I could speak on myself. I can't say we all, but I know I'm working on trying to become better and do better. And that it absolutely touches base. Yeah, a lot of times I respond too quickly and I respond too aggressively, and I have to work on that. That is something I need to work on. But yeah, that is our housekeeping, y'all. That's all we wanted to, clean up, because sometimes we gotta clean up. We gotta clean up. But let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of the content. So basically, guys, as y'all can see in the thumbnail and the title, we're doing Black History. Okay, so today we are bringing you a very special broadcast for June 1st through June 7th, this week in Black History. Now, we have included U.S. Black History, but also global Black History. And so we'll be running through and reading through a lot of things that have transpired historically within this week span when it comes to Black history in the United States and global. I'll cover the United States topics, and Imani will be covering the global topics. We have some audios to play and some videos to show and commentary in between to make per usual. So let's just go ahead and dive right into it. We're going to be breaking this stuff down because it's important, and you never know what's going on, right? Like throughout history, during the week, certain celebrations that are happening when it comes to Black Pride, Black Strength, Black Celebration. And so we'd like to go ahead and do this segment so we can come more aware of it. Now, the first thing that we're going to talk about and we'll tap into, speaking on June 1st of 1921, was the Tulsa Race Massacre, okay? So on June 1st, 1921, Tulsa's Race Massacre reached its peak. A Caucasian mob, deputized by local law enforcement, completely destroyed Greenwood. This was in Oklahoma, known as Black Wall Street. This self-sustaining, wealthy Black community was looted and burned, and private planes even dropped firebombs from the air. Up to 300 Black lives were stolen. 10,000 people were left homeless, and the history was actively suppressed for decades. But Greenwood remains the ultimate symbol of Black economic success and resilience. Now, before we get on to the next one, I want to go ahead and play a quick audio for y'all, and we will talk about the next topic.
This week in U.S. Black History, June 1st, June 7th. These are some of the most significant events, people, and milestones connected to this week in Black history. June 1st, 1921. Tulsa Race Massacre. One of the worst racial massacres in American history reached its peak. The prosperous Black community of Greenwood, known as Black Wall Street, was attacked. Hundreds of Black residents were killed or injured. Thousands were left homeless. Businesses, churches, schools, and homes were destroyed. Why it matters. The massacre became a symbol of racial violence, economic destruction, and the resilience of Black communities. June 2nd, 1964, Civil Rights Act of 1964, Senate passage. The U.S. Senate voted to end a lengthy filibuster against the Civil Rights Act. This was a major step toward ending legal segregation. It paved the way for the Act's final passage in July 1964. Key figures: Martin Luther King Jr., Lyndon B. Johnson, Roy Wilkins, June 3, 1963, Birmingham Campaign, images of children being attacked by police dogs and fire hoses shocked America. The campaign challenged segregation in Birmingham, Alabama. Television coverage helped change public opinion. It increased support for federal civil rights legislation. Key figure: Fred Shuttlesworth, June 4, 1972. Angela Davis, acquitted. Angela Davis was acquitted of conspiracy, kidnapping, and murder charges after a highly publicized trial. Why it matters. Her case became an international cause célèbre and highlighted issues of race, politics, and justice in America. June 5, 1989. Maya Angelou. During this week, Maya Angelou's work continued gaining national recognition as one of America's most influential literary voices. Known for I Know Why, The Caged Bird, Sings. Poetry, civil rights activism, quote, Still I Rise. June 6, 1944. D-Day and Black Service Members. Thousands of Black American soldiers participated in the Allied invasion of Normandy during D-Day. Why it matters. Despite serving their country, Black troops returned home to segregation and discrimination, helping fuel the later civil rights movement. Missouri, June 7, 1892. Homer Plessy challenges segregation. During this period, Homer Plessy's challenge to segregation laws was moving through the courts. His case ultimately led to Plessy v. Ferguson, the Supreme Court's infamous separate but equal ruling. Why it matters. The decision legalized segregation for decades until it was overturned by Brown v. Board of Education. This week's Black History Takeaway. This week reminds us of three things: the courage of those who fought segregation, the resilience of Black communities that rebuilt after racial violence, the determination of activists, artists, soldiers, and everyday people who refused to accept second-class citizenship. From Tulsa to Birmingham, from D-Day to the Civil Rights Movement, the lesson remains the same. Progress didn't happen because people waited for change. Progress happened because ordinary people demanded it. Know your history, protect your legacy, teach the next generation.
All right, y'all. So I just want to go ahead and play that audio there, just to give like a quick run through and breakdown. And as we also run it down and break it down, we will have our commentary in between and some videos in between. But as you heard, we started off with the Tulsa Race Massacre. So then we have to move forward to June 2nd, 1964, which was the Civil Rights Act Senate passage. So on June 2nd, 1964, the U.S. Senate finally voted to end a brutal 60-day filibuster meant to block the Civil Rights Act. Thanks to relentless pressure from civil rights titans like we heard Dr. Martin Luther King and Roy Wilkins, the gridlock was broken. This was the definitive turning point that proved legal Jim Crow segregation on its deathbed, so to speak, paving the way for the bill to be signed into law that July. Now, for me, my talking points when it comes to this specific thing, you hear us talk about this a lot over here on this channel, on this platform. When we talk about Jim Crow, we talk about the Civil Rights Act and the movement and how they're trying to take us back. We talk about politics. And within the governmental structure in the United States and our political system, we are seeing right now actively that they are trying to dismantle all of those achievements and things that were put into place way back at that time for the rights and the freedoms of Black people. So when we speak about this with such passion and we point out certain videos and things that are happening, not just in the United States, but globally, but this one is just based off of the United States for right now, we're telling you that if we pay attention and study the patterns, this is literally what it seems is happening right in front of our eyes. So we typically have conversations about this when we do our political coverage, and we bring stories and things to the platform that you can watch and witness and listen to see that within our government structure, the things that were fought for to be broken are literally now being dismantled so we can go back in time. A time where I guess certain individuals felt it was better for them. But anyway, I just want to add that quick little insert of my thoughts and feelings. Before we go to the next topic and video, Imani, do you have any comments, feelings, or opinions that you would like to add real quick?
No, what's just what the next video is about? Is it the Birmingham campaign or what we doing?
No, so the next topic, I'm sorry. Yes, the next topic is the Birmingham campaign. We'll be talking about that, giving a little bit of an insight of what that is. And I also have a video that I wanted to share as well so people can get an idea. And so, yeah, that's the next one coming up.
No, I think you summed it up perfectly. Um, this is people need to remember what happened in history, and it's not only happening in the US. If you look at the politics in the UK, if you look at the Reform Party, they are kind of mini MAGA. They want all similar, same things, and they are creating division, and and it's the same rhetoric. Everything is blamed on immigration. Everything is about people coming into the country. People need to look around the world at the rise of the far right. It's not a joke. It's happening in front of us. And the more time we spend on these little itty bitty silliness, the less time we are focused on what's going on and how our pockets are being robbed right in front of our eyes. And that's all I got to say about it.
Thank you, Imani. I agree. And so this is why we do the content that we do. And I know it's not always everybody's cup of tea and it may be boring to some, but it's important for us to pay attention because if we don't fully see what is happening and be able to fight against it, we're going to find ourselves in a place that I think is not going to be favorable. But that is just my personal thoughts and opinions. But we will move on to the next topic and I will show y'all a video in just a moment. So, the next topic or the next historical point within the week of this week, but in history, was June 3rd, 1963, the Birmingham campaign. So on June 3rd, 1963, Birmingham campaign shocked the conscience of the world. Public Safety Commissioner Bull Connor ordered police dogs and high-pressure fire hoses to be unleashed on thousands of marching school children. Because television networks broadcast these horrific images globally, public opinion shifted overnight. This forced the federal government to stop ignoring the violence and start drafting major civil rights legislation. So let me go ahead and pull this video up real quick for y'all, just so you can see a little bit, excuse me, additionally, of what we are talking about when it comes to the Children's March. So let me pull up my disclaimer of the video. Let's watch together. It's just a short video, not that long at all. And we will be right back after this.
Birmingham, Alabama, 1963. It was the most racist, most segregated city in the South. On April 12, 1963, Martin Luther King left his room at the Gaston Motel and walked 2 blocks to the 16th Street Baptist Church, where a gathering of protesters joined him for a march on City Hall. He had targeted Birmingham as the site for mass demonstrations against segregation, but the masses had failed to materialize, and King decided to go to jail himself. The nation watched quietly as King was placed in solitary confinement. 1963 would mark Dr. King's lowest point as leader of the civil rights movement. It had been 8 long years since his only major victory with Rosa Parks and the Montgomery bus boycott.
When I first met Dr. King, the mission he was embarking on was completely unknown to him. He hadn't the foggiest idea where it would lead, and certainly going to Birmingham was a choice of enormous consequence. It was a battlefield where the movement could sink or swim.
Birmingham, to be perfectly honest, was a grim place through the eyes of African Americans.
It was the most rigid, the most violent, the most vicious.
It was the biggest and baddest city in the South. We nicknamed it Birmingham.
Frankly, compared to other places, there's no racial unrest in Birmingham.
There'd been 60 unsolved bombings in Birmingham, and the local police had never arrested a soul.
The Ku Klux Klan was big in Birmingham, all through the police department and up into City Hall.
Life in Birmingham, as far as I'm concerned, is hell.
I don't believe in the mixing of the races, and I don't care what anybody says. I might be prejudiced. I don't know. I probably am, but
Birmingham, the greatest city in Alabama.
All right, y'all. So I just wanted to play that, and it is extreme trigger warning. But I just wanted to show you a little bit more context when it comes to that historical moment that has happened within Black history. But we're going to keep moving forward from that. So the next topic that we'll be talking about is going to be, give me just a second, y'all. I'll get my notes here. So after that, within this week period of time historically, we had Angela Davis. And so on June 4th, 1972, activist and scholar Angela Davis was completely acquitted of all conspiracy, kidnapping, and unaliving charges. Those are things that were put on her. The state had tried to link her to a courtroom pow out because the firearms used were legally registered to her for her own self-defense. Her trial became a global movement, and her victory was a massive win against the political targeting of Black radicals. We also will move on to June 5th, 1989, and talk about Maya Angelou's legacy. On June 5th, 1989, Maya Angelou, literary genius, was gaining massive national recognition. A former civil rights activist who worked with Malcolm X and Dr. King, Angelou gave a fierce voice to Black women. Her masterpiece, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, shattered boundaries, and her immortal words from one of her most epic poems, Still I Rise, remains our anthem of survival. And before we go to the next topic, y'all, I did want to go ahead and listen to Maya Angelou's poem, Still I Rise, today, along with you. I don't know if you heard it before. I think most people have, but if you haven't, you'll hear it here today. It is a very inspirational and strong poem. It gives you inspiration to fight. It tells you that you are somebody, you matter. All of the things that you take from it is yours, how it makes you feel. These are the things that makes me feel, plus more. But let's just listen to it together and we'll be right back.
You may
write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll rise. You can shoot me with your words. You can cut me with your lies. You can kill me with your hatefulness, but just like life, I'll rise. Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past rooted in pain, I rise. A black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, bearing in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak miraculously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. And so, there I go.
All right, y'all. So if y'all haven't heard that poem, it's a really good poem by Dr. Maya Angelou, and it brings pride to a lot of people, a lot of Black women especially, and it made such a huge difference, such as all of her work did, and the conversations she would have, the sit downs she would have, and the work that she did, inspiring to say the least, and strengthening. But before we go to this song break, Imani, did you have a few things that you would like to add to what we have just witnessed and listened to so far?
No, I just, yeah, I feel a bit emotional actually listening to that poem. Yeah, I love Maya Angelou's work, and people need to realize a lot of people struggled before us and fought for us to get to where we are now. And even though things don't look that great, we still have to fight, not physically, we still have to show that we are willing to stand up for what are the rights they fought for. And I always say this, you know, I don't want to hear any complaints from anybody who doesn't vote in local elections, even if you're complaining about your school and there's school board elections and you don't worry about it, you need to use the rights that were fought for. Because people fought, they died, and they experienced a lot of pain to get us to where we are now. That's all I've got to say.
I agree. Let's go ahead and take this quick song break, and then we'll come back. We'll finish off the U.S. topics for the week as far as Black history, and then we'll get into the global topics, Imani. We will be right back in just a moment, y'all. Let me go ahead and get this song played.
Yeah. Ain't no more quiet now. Nah. Tell them run that back. I said, hands up, head high, 10 toes. They monetize pain while the truth get froze. Big talks online, but they hearts stay cold. Still fighting for rights that was promised long ago. Ooh. We ain't your silence, nah. We ain't your fear. Hey. Every time they shut a door, we appear. From the city to the globe, here the people get loud. You can bury one voice, but you can't stop the crowd. Yeah, I'm from the side where the pressure make diamonds, where mothers pray hard cause the system stay violent. Kids learn trauma before they learn signs. Politicians campaign while communities dying. Look, everybody tweeting, everybody streaming, everybody woke till the camera stop beaming. Truth don't trend when the money intervening. That's why the real ones exhausted and screaming. Bitch ain't fake morals, podium capping. Whole lot of hashtags, ain't nobody action. Trying to sell the vision with celebrity distractions. Meanwhile, rights disappear through strategic reactions. Close schools, close polls, close cases. Still see hate written all on their faces. History repeating, just switching the phrases. Different decades, same games, new stages. And they wonder why the people don't trust. Every headline feel dangerous to us. Every promise turned dust, but we still rise up, 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 rise up. Hands up, head high, 10 toes. They monetize pain while the truth get froze. Big talks online, but their hearts stay cold. Still fighting for rights that was promised long ago. Hey, we ain't your silence, we ain't your fear. Every time they shut a door, we appear. From the city to the globe, here the people get loud. You could bury one voice, but you can't stop the crowd. Yeah, now everybody playing God with the algorithms, programming narratives and calling it the system. Who decides truth? Who decides wisdom? If the future artificial, who protect the children? Too much rage in the timeline scrolling. Young minds vulnerable, anger overloading. Everybody radical when the fear keep growing and the world stay tense while the missiles stay loaded overseas. War drums, contracts get signed. Oil, power, money always hide behind pride. Poor folks pay while the billionaires glide. And the news turn trauma into primetime vibes. Talk peace with a smirk while the stocks go up. Tell the working class, hold on, but enough is enough. People tired, people broke, people fed up. Still they call us angry every time we stand up. Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. Listen, it's bigger than left or right, bigger than red or blue. People just wanna live, people just wanna breathe, people just wanna matter. But every generation gotta drag justice uphill, while somebody profits off the chaos. That's the part they don't say out loud. Hands up, head high, 10 toes. True hit harder when the beat line rolls. Can't sell fear to a soul that knows. Power to the people, let the whole world know. We ain't your silence, we ain't your shame. If the people wake up, everything changed. From the city to the globe, hear the whole crowd roar. You can't dim light when the spirit want war. Rise up, even when they try to divide us. Rise up, even when the pressure find us. Yeah, still here, still loud, still fighting.
All right, y'all. Thanks for rocking with us through that quick song break. So let's get right back into it, y'all. We have 2 more U.S. Historical moments in history that we'll cover, and then we will go ahead and get into Black history globally. So the very next day, I'm sorry, not the very next day. No, yeah,
Sorry,
it is the very next.
Golden.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to say, great song. Really, really great song. Great music. And everybody go and listen to Golden's music. She's just got an eclectic mix of music. That was a fantastic song. Just want to say it.
Thank you. I appreciate that, girl. I hope y'all like some of the music I make. I try to really pour my heart and soul to it. And yes, I use AI tools to do it, but I write the lyrics for the songs because it's what's on my heart and it's what's on my mind. And I like the sound. So, all those things. But thank you. I appreciate that, Imani. Yeah, y'all please check out my music over on the Golden Queen music channel. I do have another channel where it's just where I put my music. Some of my music is on TikTok. I make songs almost every day, sometimes multiple songs a day. But I hope you like it. And I just try to get certain thoughts, feelings, and opinions through via lyrics and music, because sometimes that's a better way for people to receive it, right? Instead of just talking about it, music can kind of touch the soul and the heart. So that's what I just started doing. But yeah, so let's get into the next topic. as far as on our timeline. So again, the very next day, but different year. So June 6, 1944, we had D-Day and Black service members. So on June 6th, it has been considered to be D-Day, the Allied invasion of Normandy. History books often erase the thousands of Black American soldiers who landed on those beaches. Due to a segregated military, they were mostly restricted to highly dangerous supply and combat support roles. The ultimate irony is these heroes risked their lives to fight fascism abroad, only to return home to violent racism, which directly fueled the civil rights movement. Moving on from that, we have June 7th of 1892, which was Homer Plessy challenged segregation. On June 7th, 1892, Homer Plessy purposely boarded a Caucasian-only train car in Louisiana to challenge segregation. He was arrested, and his case went to the Supreme Court, resulting in the infamous 1896 Plessy versus Ferguson's separate but equal ruling. This legalized systemic apartheid for 60 years until it was finally overturned by the Brown versus the Board of Education in 1954. So that's the last thing that I have here as far as our updates on Black history in the United States. And so now I'm going to hand it over to my beautiful co-host after playing a quick audio, and she will be going through some historical coverage within this week's span when it comes to global Black history. So let's play this audio first, and then Imani will chime in to cover the global Black history within this week's span. We'll be right back.
This week in global Black history. June 1st, June 7th. This week highlights major events, freedom struggles, cultural achievements, and influential figures from Africa, the Caribbean, Europe, and the Americas. June 1st, 1831, Baptist War. Aftermath continues. The effects of Jamaica's largest slave uprising continued to be felt across the British Empire. Key figure Samuel Sharp led one of the most significant slave rebellions in Caribbean history. His actions helped accelerate the abolition of slavery throughout the British Empire. Why it matters. Many historians consider the Baptist War one of the events that pushed Britain toward ending slavery in 1834. June 2, 1979, Sir Seretse Khama legacy celebrated. Botswana's founding president remains one of Africa's most respected post-independence leaders. Why he matters. Helped transform Botswana from one of the world's poorest countries into one of Africa's most stable democracies. Promoted education, infrastructure, and economic development. June 3, 1963. Organization of African Unity takes shape. The newly formed OAU, created just days earlier in May 1963, began laying the foundation for African unity. Key leaders: Kwame Nkrumah, Haile Selassie, Julius Nyerere. Why it matters. The OAU later evolved into the African Union. June 4, 1976, Soweto Uprising preparations. In the weeks leading up to the historic Soweto Uprising, students across South Africa organized resistance to apartheid education policies. Why it matters. The uprising became one of the defining moments in the fight against apartheid. Key figure Hector Peterson. June 5, 1948, Empire Windrush arrival era. During this period, preparations were underway for the arrival of the ship HMT Empire Windrush, which arrived later that month carrying Caribbean migrants to Britain. Why it matters. The Windrush generation helped rebuild post-war Britain and transform British society. June 6, 1984, Desmond Tutu receives global recognition. During this period, international attention intensified around Archbishop Desmond Tutu's anti-apartheid work. Why he matters. Nonviolent resistance leader. Advocate for human rights. Later recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize. June 7th, 1893. Mahatma Gandhi experiences South African segregation. While traveling in South Africa, Gandhi's experiences with racial discrimination helped shape his future activism. Why it matters for Black history. South Africa's racial hierarchy and discriminatory laws affected Black Africans and other non-white populations, helping expose the global realities of colonial racism. This week's Global Black History figures Africa: Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, Desmond Tutu Caribbean, Samuel Sharp, Marcus Garvey United Kingdom, Windrush pioneers who helped shape modern Britain, United States, civil rights activists continuing the struggle for equality during the 1960s. This week reminds us that Black history is not confined to one country, from Jamaica's fight against slavery, to Ghana's dream of Pan-African unity, to South Africa's resistance against apartheid, to the Windrush generation helping rebuild Britain. The story of Black history is a global story of resilience, resistance, innovation, and excellence. Know your roots, learn your history, celebrate your culture, build your future. Because Black history didn't happen in one nation, it helped shape the world.
All right. So, Imani, I'm going to go ahead and let you dive right in. You can go ahead and cover some of these topics and give a little bit extra detail as far as what we heard in that audio there when it comes to a lot of Black history globally.
Thank you, Golden. Now, we need to expand our lenses globally because the story of Black resistance, and I'm starting at June 1st, 1831. I'm going to talk about the Baptist War. The story of Black resistance, it knows no borders. On June the 1st, 1831, the shockwaves of Jamaica's largest slave rebellion, the Baptist War, were rattling the foundations of the British Empire. Led by an enslaved Baptist deacon named Samuel Daddy Sharp. Why? Black people. Honestly, we always have something like daddy in the middle of our names. Anyway, this uprising mobilized over 60,000 of Jamaica's 300,000 enslaved people. Sharp originally planned a peaceful general strike after the Christmas holiday, demanding a working wage and freedom. When plantation owners retaliated, it exploded into an 11-day armed rebellion. Though the British military brutally crushed the revolt and executed Sharp, his dying words were, "I would rather die upon yonder gallows than live in slavery." This massive uprising proved to the British Parliament that keeping people enslaved was financially unsustainable and socially volatile, directly forcing Britain to pass the Slavery Abolition Act 2 years later. Now, when we go into history a bit more, Jamaica is very interesting on how they kept the slaves, because they the slaves were actually kept in in pens. And if you go to Jamaica, they talk about pens. The reason why they kept them in pens is because they couldn't control them um, when they were separated, because they wanted to be with their families. So when we talk about the history of Jamaican slavery, we're going to talk a lot about how the slaves decided, no, we're not having this. They were quite rebellious and difficult to control. So this Baptist rebellion is a very interesting thing, because it really tells you that they were not prepared to to obey every rule. Don't get me wrong, they were enslaved, but they actually used to try and negotiate things. And one of the things was they were kept in pens with their wives and their children because they couldn't control them. They couldn't control them. They would run away, go and see their family. So when we come into, we're going to talk about all the different countries in the Caribbean and Africa at some stage. We're going to talk about how it was set up and why different parts of the culture have particular names for particular places, because it's very interesting because it goes back to enslavement and how these pens were formed. Because you have things like May pen and other pens that are called, and these were where the slaves were actually kept in a pen, literally in a kind of cage, encaged in a pen, but they were allowed to be with their families. But we'll talk more about that at some other time. And then on June the 2nd, 1979, Sir Sarit, I hope I'm saying this right, Karma Legacy was celebrated. On June the 2nd, we honour African political brilliance, Sir Sarit Khama, the founding president of Botswana. In June 1979, towards the end of his life, his legacy as one of the continent's most visionary post-independence leaders was being celebrated worldwide. When Khama took office in 1966, Botswana was considered one of the most poorest and least developed nations in the world, surrounded by white minority ruled regimes in South Africa and Rhodesia. Rhodesia is now Zimbabwe. Um, Instead of falling into corruption or instability, Khama used the nation's newly discovered diamond wealth to invest directly in public education, healthcare, and infrastructure. He built a stable, multi-party democracy, turned Botswana into an economic powerhouse, and fiercely opposed apartheid next door, proving to the world that what clean, dedicated black governance looks like. And really, this is an example because what we hear a lot about in the diaspora is corruption. And this man decided, no, that's not the way forward. And it's the fact that he used the resources for education, healthcare, and the infrastructure. He put it back to help the people. So I think that's very interesting. A lot of these people get overlooked because nobody talks about the good. They only talk about the bad a lot of the time. June 3rd, 1963, the Organization of African Unity, OAU, takes shape. On the 3rd of June 1963, the dream of a united Africa took its first concrete steps. Just days after its official founding in May, the newly formed Organization of African Unity, OAU, began establishing its headquarters and operations, driven by political giants like Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Emperor Haile Selassie. And if anybody knows anything about Rastafarianism, you know that Haile Selassie is considered to be their leader. But that's also another thing we can go into another time when we talk about Jamaica and religion and Rastafarianism. And Julius Nyerere of Tanzania. The OAU's mission was clear: eradicate the remaining vestiges of European colonialism, support liberation movements, and unite African economies. This body laid the groundwork for the continental solidarity and Pan-African pride, ultimately evolving into the African Union we know today. June the 4th, 1976, there were Soweto uprising preparations. On June the 4th, 1976, beneath the surface of apartheid South Africa, a powerful youth movement was organizing in secret. High school students in the township of Soweto were furious over a new decree forcing them to be taught in Afrikaans. Now, I don't know if people know anything about South Africa, but Afrikaans is the language of the mainly of the white South Africans, and it is derived from the Dutch settlers that came to South Africa. So they were rebelling against being forced to be taught in Afrikaans. This was the language of their white suppressors. Throughout this week in June, student leaders were planning a massive peaceful march to demand equal education. Just days later, on June the 16th, that march took place, and apartheid police opened fire on unarmed children, killing young Hector Peterson and hundreds of others. June the 4th reminds us that youth have always been the engine of global revolution. Now, June the 5th, 1948, Empire Windrush arrival. On June the 5th, 1948, across the Atlantic, preparations were underway at the port of Tilbury in London for arrival of a passenger ship called HMT Empire Windrush. The vessel carried nearly 500 Jamaican and Caribbean passengers who had been invited by the British government to help rebuild post-war Britain, which was facing massive labour shortages. This marked the birth of the Windrush generation. These pioneers faced intense systemic racism, housing discrimination, social isolation when they arrived, yet they persevered, introducing Caribbean culture, music, literature, and political activism to the UK, permanently transforming modern British society into a multicultural landscape. Now, I want to stop here and talk about two things. One is the Soweto uprising. They literally unalived school children in that uprising. And I did say a film, if you want to see and know what apartheid was like, it's got Denzel in it, funnily enough. It's called Cry Freedom. I would advise people, if you've not seen it, go and watch that movie because it will give you an insight into apartheid, which continued up until 1994. And yesterday, I spoke briefly about when I was working in financial services and I had to go and do a presentation. I went to South Africa pre the new Mandela government. Mandela had just been freed and they were negotiating the new government. And one thing that was interesting for me, because I was a black woman, I worked for a very, very big company. But whenever I arrived for a meeting, and remember, my company was the client. We were the big wigs. We were the ones that they were servicing. So I had to go and speak to all these CEOs, and they had only spoken to me on the phone. And they believed that I was Caucasian because of my voice. So when I would arrive at reception, number one, they would be completely rude to me because I was a black woman, because they couldn't perceive that I could be there for any major reason. And number two, in one company, I asked to use the bathroom. And when I went to use the bathroom, the first thing I noticed was the fact that most of the black workers that were walking around the building were wearing white gloves. They were wearing white gloves because they didn't want their hands. These weren't industrial workers' gloves. These were cloth white gloves that they wore at all times because their hands could not touch anything that the white people could touch. So that was my first kind of shock. arriving there. Second thing is, they showed me a bathroom. And when I went into this bathroom, I thought, my God, this is a major corporate organization. And these bathrooms are like grubby, dirty. They just don't look like the bathrooms that a company like this should have. Well, because I was black and I hadn't announced who I was coming to see, they showed me to the cleaners and the workers' bathrooms because they obviously I couldn't use the bathrooms that the white people would use. And that for me was a very big shock to my system because I'd read about apartheid, I'd watched the movies, but I'd never experienced it in real life. And when I walked into a company, actually, I went to the stock exchange floor. There was silence when I walked across the floor because no black person, no black woman had ever crossed that floor. And they just thought, who the hell is this? So that was my experience of South Africa. Second thing about Windrush, when we have this reform party that is telling us that we need to go back to where we came from, the key thing about why people came from the Caribbean and later from Africa is we were invited. We came to help build the country. But do you guys know about what happened to some of the Windrush generation? A lot of them, like a lot of our people, did not do their paperwork. So when Theresa May, who was later the Prime Minister of the UK, was in the Home Office, and they wanted to have an immigration sweep, they rounded up many people that had been in the country for about 50 years, if not longer, and sent them back to the land that they came from. And some of these people, these people had work, they had records of being registered for health. They had wage slips that they had worked in the country. They had school reports that they had attended school, but they were sent back, dropped back in the land they came from that they had never seen. Some of them were children of Windrush generation, and some of them were dropped back home and they died there because they didn't know anybody and they didn't have anything to go back to. And if you want to talk about colonialism, the UK government up until 2018 was paying money to the family of slave owners for their losses because of the abolition of slavery. And the only reason they stopped is because someone in the government office leaked it in 2018. So when people want to talk about reparations, they need to do a little bit of research and see who has been compensated for slavery and who hasn't. I'm going to move on to the next thing, which is June the 6th, 1984. Desmond Tutu receives global recognition. On June the 6th, 1984, international focus intensified around the moral conscience of South Africa. Archbishop Desmond Tutu was traveling the globe, utilizing his platform within the Anglican Church to demand international economic sanctions against the brutal apartheid regime. He called for non-violent resistance, unified black and white citizens in the struggle, and coined the phrase the Rainbow Nation. His fearless advocacy during this exact window in the mid-80s earned him the Nobel Peace Prize. Ha ha, Donald Trump. Later that year, illustrating how local grassroots struggles can capture the conscience of the entire international community. And last but not least, Mahatma Gandhi, on June the 7th, 1893, experienced South African segregation. We're closing our global segment on June the 7th with an event that highlights the global scale of colonial oppression. A young Indian lawyer named Mahatma Gandhi was thrown off a train in Pietermaritzburg, South Africa, simply because he refused to move from the first-class compartment to the third-class car. This single act of racial discrimination fundamentally altered Gandhi's life, prompting him to stay in South Africa and spend over 20 years fighting the regime's racist laws. This matters deeply to Black history because it exposes the global hierarchy of white supremacy under British and European colonialism, discriminating against Black Africans, Indians, and all non-white peoples alike. It proves that our struggles against oppression have always been globally intertwined. And that's what I've got for global history, global Black history.
Amazing breakdown, Imani. Thank you so much for that. Because that's one of the things that I think is most important for us to understand when it comes to, not just us as human beings, but when it comes to what we're talking about, Black people. Black people are everywhere. Let's just be honest, okay? And so it's not just in the United States, which is the country where I reside. There's not just Black people in the UK, which is where Imani resides. There are Black people and Black experiences globally, everywhere. And those experiences are real. They have happened. And a lot of times history continues to repeat itself, and it may be striking itself back up again. And so it's important to know where we came from so we know where we're at right now, so we know what we want to do differently. So when we move forward, we don't have that same experience and our tomorrow looks different than our today or our yesterday. That's the importance of knowing your history and understanding that we're all in this together, no matter where we reside, no matter what accent we have. If you're Black, you're Black. That's all I got to say, like literally on that. But I did have a few videos I'm going to show that are very, very short about a lot of the topics that, were being covered. One important one at the end that I wanted to show as well, just to kind of segue on some things that we talked about yesterday. And then, we'll end it with a bot like we usually do. But let's go ahead and watch a few of these videos together, y'all, as you have heard us break down the history for you. Now we'll put the video up so you can actually see, because sometimes visuals can actually, help you understand a little bit more than just someone reading to you. So let's go ahead and do a few videos, and we'll be right back.
YouTube channel dedicated to the historic events of June 16, 1976 in South Africa. Join us as we delve into the compelling story of the Soweto uprising and its profound impact on the country's struggle against apartheid. Through engaging visuals, we aim to bring this pivotal moment in history to life. Discover the courageous actions of the students who protested against the imposition of Afrikaans, risking their lives for a better future. On June 16, 1976, a pivotal event took place in South Africa that would go down in history as the Soweto uprising. This uprising marked a significant turning point in the country's struggle against apartheid, a system of racial segregation and discrimination enforced by the government. At the time, South Africa was deeply divided along racial lines, with the white minority government maintaining strict control over the Black majority population. The government's policies restricted educational opportunities for black students, particularly in Soweto, a township near Johannesburg. The catalyst for the Soweto uprising was a series of protests, led by students against the use of the Afrikaans language as the medium of instruction in black schools. Afrikaans was closely associated with the oppressive apartheid regime, and students felt that their education was being deliberately hindered to further entrench white minority rule. On the morning of June 16th, thousands of students from various schools in Soweto gathered for a peaceful march to demonstrate against the imposition of Afrikaans. Their intention was to reach Orlando Stadium, where a rally was planned. However, the march quickly turned violent as police responded with force, firing tear gas and live ammunition at the protesters. Hector Peterson, a 13-year-old student, became an iconic symbol of the Soweto uprising when he was shot and killed by the police. The image of his lifeless body being carried by another student, captured by photographer Sam Zima, circulated worldwide, and became a powerful symbol of the brutality of the apartheid regime. The violence in Soweto sparked widespread protests and uprisings throughout the country, as the news spread and people became further outraged by the government's actions. The Soweto uprising became a defining moment in the struggle against apartheid, galvanizing resistance and inspiring international condemnation of South Africa's racial policies. In the aftermath of the Soweto uprising, the apartheid government intensified its crackdown on anti-apartheid activists, leading to increased repression and resistance. However, the events of June 16, 1976, brought international attention to the plight of black South Africans and significantly contributed to the eventual dismantling of apartheid. Today, June 16th is commemorated in South Africa as Youth Day, a public holiday that honors the courage and sacrifice of the students who fought against injustice on that fateful day in 1976. That concludes our video on the Soweto uprising of June 16, 1976. We hope you've enjoyed this brief history. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.
All right, y'all. So we're just going to go ahead and get into the next video here. So the next one we're going to be playing is going to be one of the things that we mentioned as well. When an African prince and a Caucasian middle-class clerk from Lloyd's Underwriters got married in 1948, it provoked shock in Britain and Africa. Syrtis Kama met Ruth Williams while he was a student at Oxford University. After his studies, he was supposed to go home to British Protectorate of Bushalan, I don't know if I'm saying that right, which is now they say is Botswana, and marry someone from his own tribe. But his romance that was had with Williams changed everything. His family disapproved, and Khama was forced to renounce his claim to the throne. The British government came under pressure to show its disapproval of Khama while exiled from homeland. He later became the first president of Botswana, and it became an independent country. Witness spoke to Ruth Williams' sister about the love that conquered prejudice. So that's the next video we're going to go ahead and play, y'all. Let me get this up here so we can watch this together. But a few of these topics throughout, history, these have been some things that have happened and that continue to happen. And so this is why we like to bring a lot of this forward so we can understand what the history was, what actually is going on now is basically history sometimes being repeated. So we can see, are we moving forward? Are we staying stagnant, or are we going back? Anyway, let's get into this video. Meet y'all in the chat.
I never met an African until I went to this London Missionary Society conference in 46, and I was then 24. I went up to dinner, and at the table was Seretse Khama. Seretse was the inheritor as chief of the tribe, the Nkosi, which is like a king. We became very good friends, and I used to go up every Saturday night. My sister Ruth didn't have anything to do on Saturday night, so I asked her if she'd like to come up with me.
We met through my sister, but indirectly through the London Missionary Society. They used to have weekend sort of things for African students.
I clicked from the word go. You get this attraction. It's impossible to describe, but it's just there.
We discovered that we liked the same type of music, always jazz. People like the Ink Spots, of course, Ella Fitzgerald.
It was amazing how they had so much in common with such different backgrounds. In those days, the racial situation in London was not very good, and white and black did not go out together, especially a white girl with a black man.
We were very much in love. We knew that we were going to upset our immediate families, but then at the same time, we didn't want to live apart.
I think she was very brave, and so was he. His father had died when he was very young, and he was brought up by his uncle Sakedi. He was very much against the marriage, and he thought it would be letting the tribe down, and you couldn't have a chief with a white bride. They wanted to be married in the Anglican Church. Unfortunately, Sakedi wrote to the London Missionary Society asking them to stop the wedding, and they contacted the Bishop of London, and he telephoned the vicar the morning of the marriage to say he wasn't to marry them. So that was a Saturday. On Monday morning, Seretse went to a registry office, bought a special license, and then the Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock, they arranged to get married.
We were stubborn, but other people were equally stubborn in their attitude by trying to prevent us.
It was discussed in Parliament. Churchill said that they were a very brave couple, even though he didn't approve of the marriage. The British government sent out a team to look onto the suitability of Seretse to be the chief.
Coming in from Bechuanaland, Seretse Khama, 27-year-old chief designate of the Bamangwato tribe. He had been summoned to Britain to discuss the future rulership of the tribe, affected by his marriage to former London typist Ruth Williams.
They had a lot of protests from South Africa. They said, we don't approve of a coloured couple being in such a prominent position. So the British government exiled Seretse, even though the committee that went out there couldn't find anything wrong with the marriage.
Had we not had the aggro, would have been better. But I think just the fact that people were trying to separate us, even after we were married, they were still trying to separate us. Somebody described it one time as trying to split the atom.
It was news all over the world. I just couldn't believe that it was me and my family and Ruth, and that we were living through this.
It's 6 years since the British government forbade Seretse to return to his homeland. Now he has renounced the chieftaincy forever, and at last the ban is lifted.
When Seretse was setting up the political party, he travelled all over Botswana. One of these times, the car broke down. So, of course, Ruth had been in the WAF. She had 3 months training in car maintenance. So she got out and fixed the car. So he said, well, I certainly married the right woman.
All right, y'all. So that was just a quick breakdown in that video. And like I said, these videos are going to be short, y'all. So we're just going to keep flying through them until we get to the end, and we'll wrap everything up. So now we'll go ahead and we'll touch on a little bit of the journey from the Caribbean to, excuse me, from the Caribbean to Britain, a journey on the empire. And this is one of the topics that we touched on and talked about when it comes to Windrush. So I have a quick little video I want to show y'all about that. Let me get that up here on the screen real quick. Give me just a second. All right, here we go. Let's put this up. All right, let's get into it.
It is 1948 in Jamaica, and the island is in bad shape. It's still recovering from a hurricane a few years earlier, and Sam King remembers the economy being in a desperate state.
Things, again, were very bad because the coconuts were destroyed in 44. It takes 5 to 6 years for the coconuts to rebuild. The whole structure of farming was undermined. I didn't see any future. Of course, my father was very glad I was there because I'm the eldest son. And like him, eventually I would take over the farm to pick pimento and to plant banana and all that. But I had no intention of planting bananas.
Back then, Sam was just 22 years old, but he'd already seen the outside world. He'd volunteered during World War II and served in the Royal Air Force in Britain. With the coming of peace, he'd returned to the hills of eastern Jamaica, but he knew he wouldn't stay. And within months, he spotted a chance to get away.
It was in the Daily Jamaican newspaper that this troop ship would call to Jamaica in about 2 weeks' time, and the passage was 28 pounds 10 shillings. Let's get that straight. The average man didn't have 28 pounds 10 shillings. It was equivalent to about 3 cows.
So you're sitting reading the newspaper, and what goes through your mind?
I'm going back to England.
Eventually, nearly 500 passengers boarded the ship, bound for England and a new life. They would turn out to be pioneers. Their journey marked the start of a new wave of migration. In the decade to come, 250,000 West Indians would follow in the wake of the Windrush. Sam remembers the mood that evening when she slipped slowly out of Kingston Harbour.
People were waving, things were happening on the docks. Now, for about half of us, we had no intention of coming back to a colony. We were looking forward. We were looking towards a new hope. But there were some men in their 40s who had a wife and children. They were looking back at yard. They were waving. They were that. But we, chiefly the young ones, were not looking back. We were looking forward.
Several stowaways had managed to smuggle themselves on board. One was a woman, and out of kindness, Sam and some of the other passengers clubbed together and paid to buy her a ticket, enabling her to make the voyage legally. But conditions on the troop ship in those first years after the war were far from luxurious.
Sad to say, you have mashed potato in tins from New Zealand 2 years. They put it on the table, mix it up with water. Now, if you didn't heat it then, in the evening, they mix it with cabbage. And if you didn't eat it, then in the morning, they fried it and call it bubble and squeak. You have to eat it sometime, but food was rationed in Britain. Men were playing dominoes and things, but we had the decks were chiefly blankets and a few bunks, but the women were in cabins. So we just mill around. And in the evenings, they have boxing competition and things like that, and dance and all things. But the main thing is, it was to mentally get yourself ready to land.
And the other young guys who, unlike you, hadn't seen Britain before, were they asking lots of questions?
Time and again, they would come, Sam, what will happen? Will I have a job? They were more concerned about job. I said, settle down. In the evening, after supper, about 6:30, I would go in the lower deck and I would have 8, 10 of them. I said, look, food is rationed in England. You can't grasp that. There's hardly anywhere to live because the bad Germans destroyed Britain. So to get accommodation, but work is all over the place. So work is not the problem. It's somewhere to live and food to eat.
This was back in a time when West Indians still regarded Britain as a kind of motherland. It was the seat of a great empire of which they were a part. And for those arriving for the first time, battered and exhausted post-war Britain would prove a severe disappointment. But a newsreel of the day struck an upbeat tone when the Windrush finally docked just outside London.
Arrivals at Tilbury. The Empire Windrush brings to Britain 500 Jamaicans. Many are ex-servicemen who know England. They served this country well. In Jamaica, they couldn't find work. Discouraged but full of hope, They sailed for Britain, citizens of the British Empire coming to the mother country with good intent. Prodded by public...
However, some in the mother country weren't so welcoming. As the Windrush was steaming across the Atlantic, there were members of Parliament in London who had voiced disquiet about the start of this influx of migrants.
Our reporter asks them what they want to do.
Why have you come to England? To seek a job. And what sort of job do you want? Any type, so long as I get a good pay.
Some plan to return to Jamaica when conditions improve.
I'd like to ask you, please, are you a single man?
I am a single man. I'm only my mother that is depending on me, and I'm trying to help myself and also help my mom.
Their spokesman sings his thanks to Britain.
Now, may I ask you your name?
Lord Kitchener.
Lord Kitchener. Now, I'm told that you are really the king of calypso singers. Is that right?
Yes, that's
well, now, will you
true.
sing for us?
Right now.
Yes.
London is the place for me. London, this lovely city. You can go to France or America, India, Asia, or Australia, but you must come back to London City.
And Britain did provide these new arrivals with plenty of work. There was much to rebuild in the aftermath of the war. But the coming of the Windrush began by far the biggest wave of non-white immigration the country had ever seen. And as the numbers of migrants grew, tensions rose. Many West Indians would endure shocking levels of racism.
Once more of our people start coming, and food still ration, the unions blame the blacks for everything. Rubbish. And in the end, you have signs, keep Britain white, blacks go home and all that. But all we did was to carry on and did our jobs.
How would that play out in the street, in life, that kind of prejudice?
In many cases, we couldn't go out one at night. We had to go out in twos. But an average Jamaican would have to have about 3 men tackling him for him to run away. But we came here to stay. And in the long run, it's a success story.
In the years after he disembarked from the Windrush, Sam watched his people put down new roots in Britain. Today, more than 6 decades on, racism is by no means a thing of the past, and the community has faced enduring economic disadvantages. But the children of those early migrants have become a fully integrated, permanent part of the fabric of British society, contributing in every area of life. Sam King himself went into politics and eventually became the mayor of the London borough of Southwark.
London, this lovely city. You can go to France or America, India, Asia, or Australia, but you must come back to London City. Well, believe me, I am speaking broad-minded.
All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get into the last video. Unless Imani, do you have any thoughts, feelings, or opinions you want to add before we play the last video, or you want to just go ahead, play this one, and then talk?
No, I just wanted to say, just before you play the last video, one of the things that I heard from my mother and father about when they came to the UK was it was really difficult to find accommodation, to find people that would accept Black people living in their houses and renting their space. And they used to have signs in the window that said, and this is in order of what they didn't want, it said, no Blacks, no Irish, and then last but not least, no dogs. So basically, dogs were preferable to Irish or Black people in the house. That's a true story. You're shocked.
Yeah, I'm very shocked. I'm very shocked. That's what my silence. I was just like, Interesting. And so, we'll get into this after the last video or whatnot. We'll have our final thoughts and a little chit chat or whatnot about everything that we learned today, things that we experience every day, things that we've continuously tried to just get people to understand that they just don't want to seem to understand. We'll do that at the end. But yeah, I'm very shocked. And, this is what I'm saying. Like, I'm from the United States. You're from the UK. There's Black people in other countries as well. And the experiences is different based off of that. But however, being Black, there's some type of experience that you probably will have where there will be discrimination, there will be mistreatment, there will be people that, feel as though they can talk down to you or speak to you a certain type of way, all those different things, right? This is something that we all know to be true. And we all gather at the round table. We come together and understand that despite the differences that we have and where we're located in this big, beautiful globe, it's just something about being Black. It's just something about being Black that your experiences sometimes when you're Black, whether it's you're somebody who was in 1960, 1880, or 2026, there's still some type of disconnect that some people are not fully understanding or getting when it comes to how you talk to us, how you treat us, and the privileges that you feel as though you have over us. And so, we have to just sometimes educate, because I can be fair to say, if someone don't know, then you don't know. But don't say that the education is not out there for you to get. And that's your responsibility to have, right? That's what I think. Because the way we have to learn, the way we have to educate ourselves, we have to learn your culture. We have to learn what y'all are teaching us. So if we're trying to teach you something and tell you something, I think the respectful thing to do is to sit down, listen, and learn. And then moving forward, apply yourself differently, address people differently, act accordingly. Because at this point, you need to understand there is no disbalance of the scales. We're on the same level when it comes to the scales. Historically, mine didn't used to be like that. Where they trying to take us back? Probably to that time. Where we refuse to go back to and where we are right now, we're very much scaled and balanced. So no. But anyway, y'all, I will not say too much. We're going to play this last video and we'll do our final thoughts. But that's just food for thought. If anybody's out there listening, I just want you to know, don't, get too heavily upset when we have to just sometimes tell you, teach you, school you, because yes, we get to do that and we know better than anybody else does. And if you don't believe us, look at the history and then ask questions later. But anyway, let's go to the next video. I'm sorry, the last video, and then we'll be back for more commentary. All right. So the last video, y'all, I'm about to get this pulled up here. And this is the Tulsa race riot of 1921. So let's take a look at this real quick together, and I will meet y'all in the chat.
This program is brought to you by Emory University.
Tulsa, the African-American community in Tulsa was relatively prosperous, well-educated. I mean, they had done everything that they were supposed to do in terms of the American dream. You work hard, you save your money, you go to school, you buy property. I mean, this is what they had done under horrific conditions. I mean, when you look at the context of what Black America looked like at the time, the fact that they were able to do this is one of the things that we herald in terms of when we talk about the immigrant story, right? But instead, this created such seething resentment in Tulsa that you had Black doctors, Black attorneys, Black businessmen. I mean, in fact, this area of Tulsa was known as Black Wall Street, to give you some sense of how much it held in terms of value, in terms of esteem, in terms of worth. But that resentment in Tulsa was so intense, and that it was just waiting for a spark to just ignite it. That spark was a Black messenger was delivering a message. You know, they had messengers back in the day, was delivering a message downtown. And he gets in the elevator, and there's a white woman in the elevator. I believe she was the elevator operator. And from the first floor through the third floor, I mean, the elevator may have bumped or something, and he hit her a little bit, but he didn't hit her. He just kind of brushed against her. She yelled, "Rape." Now, to understand what the charge of rape means when a white woman yells rape against a Black man in this period, because part of understanding the violence that African Americans faced was to deal with the issue of what was called the sanctity of white womanhood. And that sanctity of white womanhood said that all white women had to be protected from Black beast, so-called Black beast. And when she yelled rape, now the charge was absolutely improbable from the first floor to the third floor. Improbable. But it was the spark. They couldn't wait because he was the son of a prominent Black businessman. So they hauled him, the police hauled him down to the station. Well, the Black elite came down to the station going, you know, this is my son, this is my boy. My son wouldn't do this. What's his bail? And I'm like, oh, uppity, how dare you come down here? How dare you? And because the African American community sensed that the sense of anger and violence was rising, it wasn't one or two that came down. There were several of them that came down. And like, oh, so what, are you going to storm the jail? He said, no, but we're here for justice. We're here for justice. And then the lynch mob began to form in Tulsa. It was like, oh, these are some uppity Negroes who need to be put back in their place. And the violence began. Black Tulsa was, the lynch mob rode in, but they also came in airplanes, dropping bombs on Tulsa, Black Tulsa. There are descriptions and depictions of African Americans being decapitated, being forced to kneel down and just having their heads severed. There are just the pictures of the strafings, of the bombings, of the shootings. Nobody's quite sure what the death toll is. But when you look at the pictures, what you see is an area that had once been thriving. What we say is the American dream, absolutely leveled by the violence, by the lynch mobs, by the airplanes, by the bombs, leveled. Black Tulsa has never recovered. As the bombings are happening, as the violence is happening, as Tulsa is on fire, the governor of Oklahoma is like, whoa, maybe, we should. The feds are looking up going, this is not our issue. I thought you was, wow. Nothing we can do here. And that is so indicative of the imbalance that has happened in terms of justice, in terms of rights, in terms of the protection of basic civil and human rights for African Americans in the United States.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.
So that was just a quick little video, y'all. We are back. That I wanted to show you about basically the discussion of how things had gone down historically in the past. And when you heard and you saw exactly how that woman was telling that story, because that is literally what happened, we're seeing that today. We're still seeing that today in 2026, right? It's the audacity that individuals have to come and speak to us about things that they don't know, but it's also the fact that you feel as though that we don't have the privilege or deserve the position to speak back to you or stand up against you the way we do. So, that's just all in that. That's the last video that I had to play, y'all. But, I'm going to let Imani take the ropes, because when I watch things like this and listen to things like this, y'all know how Golden can get. And Imani is very cool, calm, and collective. So we balance each other out. So, Imani, I'll let you go ahead and take the floor, and I'm going to mute down. And what are your thoughts and feelings about not just the videos, but all of the history and the information that we gave today? Any that stand out to you, any that you want to point out, or let people know that are very important to pay attention to. And then after that, I'll give my final thoughts.
Well, listen, when we were talking about doing this Black History, it was really hard to try and schedule shows because there's so much to talk about, and we wanted to do unpacking so much, and we still do. We're gonna do very many things, even just talking about food and the different countries and the diaspora, because we have a lot of history, and we also want to showcase, great Black scientists, great Black artists, people who are activists. But if we tried to do it, it would it would take forever. So what we decided was we're going to just do every week. We're going to schedule a show about this week in Black history. We'll also showcase, people who have been, and we don't have time today, but we did have a list of people that are relevant to this week. And we'll maybe put some stuff out on the community wall so that people can look and review it, who the people that shaped our future. But what I really wanted to say and remind everyone is that Black history isn't just about a month of celebration, which we do in the UK in October and in February in the US and Canada. Black history is more than just dates on a calendar. It's a story about resilience, courage, innovation, and excellence. From the ancestors that survived slavery and colonialism, to the activists who fought for civil rights, to the educators, the inventors, the artists, the soldiers, the entrepreneurs, and everyday people who opened up doors for future generations. We are standing on the shoulders of giants, and we need to remember that. And it's not just about struggle, because it's also about triumph. It's about people who turned obstacles into opportunities, pain into purpose. It's about communities that keep moving forward even when the odds are stacked against them. So, what we're here to do is we're trying to share the history. We're also learning stuff as well ourselves as we do this research. We want to teach the history to those that want to learn. And there are a lot of people who already know this history. So we'd love them to come in and take part in some of these lives. And we also want to celebrate the history, because when you know where you come from, you walk differently, you stand taller, and nobody can tell you you don't belong. And what we have to do is honor the past, educate the present, and that's our children. Educate them, inspire the future. And it's a living history being written every single day, like by people like me, you, Golden, everybody that's out there, by people who dare to dream, dare to achieve, and try to leave the world better than they found it. So stay proud, stay informed, keep making history, people, please. And that's all I've got to say for this live.
Excellent, excellent. And I could not agree more, Imani. I could not agree more. And thank you so much for joining me today, like we join each other on most days, with such great topics and things to bring to the forefront to discuss on the platform amongst people. And I do have a few final thoughts that I want to give, and we're gonna go ahead after this and wrap it up per usual with a bop and end it. We won't take up too much of y'all time. I did want to go ahead and create something, and there will be like something that I'll create because I come up with stuff. But I did want to go ahead and say this for people who come and they join the lives, right? Whether they choose to engage in the chat and pop in, or maybe they listen while they're at work or while they're doing chores at home. And this has been typically something that's been addressed as, someone watching from the bushes. I don't like that title anymore. I will keep that title for people that, basically are peeping toms and they're, looking at you from the bushes for their reasons. But supporters who may just listen and watch and not necessarily want to come all the way in and engage, but they're listening to the message, they're listening to the content, they appreciate it and they support. I want to tell you that I love you. I thank you for your support. We see you, even though we can't necessarily always see you or know that you're there. Your presence is felt, and we really appreciate it, especially when we have to bring important topics and conversations like this to the platform. These are some of my final feelings, okay, y'all? I just really want to bring it all home with this. And this is the rawest truth of all. Whether you look at our history globally or you look at our reality that we're experiencing right now, Black people have endured an incredibly heavy burden. We have faced struggles, brutal ones, systemic discrimination, and have been treated poorly by systems built to exploit us. But let's make one thing very crystal clear. We are not going back to the past. Never, ever, ever again. We are actively moving forward to build a brighter, bolder future. That future requires absolute global unity, especially when it comes to our Black people. There's pride in our roots and a deep respect for all races. But solidarity is a two-way street. We offer respect, but it must be fiercely reciprocated. We will no longer tolerate the blatant or subtle disrespect of our people, our culture, or our humanity. And to the rest of the world, if people still don't realize what is racist, what is disrespectful, what is hurtful, what is deeply harmful to Black communities, the era of us politely explaining our pain is over. You must do your own research, educate yourself, read the history, or adjust your behavior because our boundary has clearly been set. Progress didn't happen because our ancestors waited around for permission. It happened because ordinary people stood up and demanded it. Know your roots, protect your legacy, demand your respect, and let's keep building this future together. Stay strong, stay unified, and we will see y'all on the next live, y'all. Thank you so much for joining. Like I said, we appreciate each and every one of you. And that's literally all we got. Imani, you got anything else? That's all I got. You got anything else?
Yeah, just one final thing. We're going to be putting some resources because I know some people are more visual. So we're going to try and find some films, some documentaries that people can watch to see some of the stuff that we're talking about. Because I think a lot of people are very visual, and they like to see it. And there are some really great films that tell these stories. So we're going to be adding some resources to that. And finally, I just want to say once again, please go and support some of these channels if you like them. We have, on the bigger channels, we have Kempire and Mims, Make It Make Sense. And, some of our peers that we support are Ralph DeWise, Maggie, Kimmy Love, Cultivate with Kai, Unwind with Teddy, Mel's World, Good Utopia, We the People, Cups of Conversation, Judge Shady Court, Rose Tea Politics, Trevor Green, Dropping the Tea. And for music, we've obviously got Good Utopia, we got Golden Queen Music and Atlas Family Studios. Please go and support these channels. They need your support. If you like their content, share it, drop a like, give support, and help them to grow their channels because they're working hard to do different types of content, but suitable for some, not for others. People like what they like, but please go out there and support our brothers and sisters that are doing good work out there. And for me, have a happy rest of Sunday. And we'll see you all in the week. We will be back with the politics as usual and some of the celebrity stuff. Take care of yourselves, stay blessed, and have a wonderful week this week. And love you all, and thank you so much for your support.
Well said, and agreed. Absolutely. We love people. We love people. So we need to support one another. This is not just a race thing. This is a human thing. And that's what's important to me. It means the most to my heart. But I can do my part, and I need our other brothers and sisters out there to do their part as well. And sometimes we may have to have difficult conversations, but we can navigate through them professionally, with love, with integrity, and not have to argue and fight and tear one another down or separate ourselves. This is not about separation or segregation. It's about unity. But everyone has to play their part. And that's all I have to say for this live. Golden and Imani out. We will talk to y'all on the next one, y'all. Y'all know the week is coming up. Politics is coming. Politics is coming. We got to catch up with the politics. So, y'all, that will be our next live. We'll get into some political things. But thank you so much for joining today. We really appreciate it. And I really do want to say, once again, to Mel's World, our deepest apologies for our behavior and things that transpired with him being on your platform and meeting you and trying to get to know you. We can talk about it at a later date if you desire to. Again, no hard feelings. Please support Mel's World and her channel. Excellent content, excellent person, a lot of wisdom and knowledge. Nothing bad to say. Everybody, have a wonderful day. I hope y'all enjoyed the live. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
They handed us the script, but we don't gotta read it no more. Yeah. Same old story, different page. Same old ink on a different stage. Got my own people on the corner, pushing me closer to the edge with rage. Willie Lynch probably laughing in his grave, seeing centuries later we still enslaved. House divided, envy contagious, the blueprint still working. Ain't that outrageous? Yeah, stack the odds, casino game. Bet against ourselves just to chase some fame. Another brother falls, everybody crying. Last week behind closed doors, they was quietly plotting, trying to dim his light cause his future too bright. Crabs in the bucket pulling down every flight. Generational wounds pass hand to hand, fighting each other instead of the man with the plan. Iron chains became gold links, different metal, same prison when nobody thinks. Freedom ain't jewelry, freedom is soul. Can't buy liberation if your spirit been sold. We just echoes in the barrel, spinning circles every day. History whispers softly, but we keep looking away. Now we acting every part. Time to break the cycle, time to heal the broken heart. This ain't the dream they marched for. This ain't the future they could see. This whole thing was a setup. It's time we set ourselves free. poverty. The trap is division. The chains ain't visible. They're built from our decisions. We carry anger in our chests. Years of trauma, years of stress. Then pass it to our own bloodline. Instead of putting evil to rest, love became weakness. Unity became strange. Clout became currency. Everybody chained. Round and round we go. History keeps repeating. 'Cause nobody let it go. But tonight we change the pole. We build every hope. This ain't the life they believe. The chains only live if we choose not to leave. Let the echoes disappear. Let the barrel finally break. Leave the hate where it belongs. For our children's sake. No more jealousy. No more self-destruction. No more borrowed hatred. It's unity or it's nothing. We free. We free. Yeah. They handed us the script. But we don't gotta read it no more. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Same old story, different page. Same old ink on a different stage. Got my own people on the corner, pushing me closer to the edge with rage. Willie Lynch probably laughing in his grave. Seeing centuries later, we still enslaved. House divided, envy contagious. The blueprint still working. Ain't that outrageous? Yeah. Stack the odds, casino game. Bet against ourselves just to chase some fame. Another brother falls, everybody crying. Last week behind closed doors, they was quietly plotting, trying to dim his light, 'cause his future too bright. Crabs in the bucket pulling down every flight. Generational wounds pass hand to hand, fighting each other instead of the man with the plan. Iron chains became gold links. Different metal, same prison when nobody thinks. Freedom ain't jewelry, freedom is soul. Can't buy liberation if your spirit been sold. We just echoes in the barrel, spinning circles every day. History whispers softly, but we keep looking away. Now we acting every part. Time to break the cycle, time to heal the broken heart. This ain't the dream they marched for. This ain't the future they could see. This whole thing was a setup. It's time we set ourselves free. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Same concrete soaked with tears. Same pain carried through the years. But we tear each other down for applause. Temporary likes while nobody heals. Call you a sellout when you lead a block. Soon as success make the whole world stop. But the real betrayal ain't broke the flight. It's poisoning your people out of envy and spite. You mad 'cause his watch gleam, mad 'cause our bag gleam. Meanwhile the architects of the cage still counting money behind the scenes. They love the chaos, love the smoke, love watching families lose all hope. Another headline, another mother cry, another generation acting while they dying. The trap ain't poverty. The trap is division. The chains ain't visible. They're built from our decisions. We carry anger in our chests. Years of trauma, years of stress. Then pass it to our own bloodline. Instead of putting evil to rest, love became weakness. Unity became strange. Clout became currency. Everybody chained. We together let the barrel finally break. Leave the hate where it belongs, for our children's sake. No more jealousy, no more self-destruction, no more borrowed hatred. It's unity or it's nothing. We free. We free. They don't know her like I do. Nah. Golden. She moved through the city with her hair held high. Pretty brown skin with a storm inside. Everybody see the glow, they don't know the pressure. Smile so warm, but her heart no weather. Late nights riding while the skyline blur. Trying not to cry when the memories occurred. Had to learn fast, everybody ain't loyal. Some people love you long as they control you. Now she move careful, energy expensive. Too many fake vibes hiding in the friendship. Used to give love with her hands wide open. Now every scar got the whole vibe frozen. They don't know her like I. No, they don't know. She goes by golden, soft voice, deep soul, hope or glowing. She goes by golden, city lights dancing with her heart stay open. Long dark roads, but she still stay focused. Everybody watching, but they don't really know. She goes by golden, too much grace for the games they throwing. Real love, rare, so spirits they got it. Beautiful soul, but the pain left marks in it. Mirror tell the truth when the lights go dim. All the things she carry weight heavy within. She survived nights she don't even speak on. Still finding peace what the whole world ain't wrong. Funny how the love disappear when you're healing. Funny how the fate come around when you win. And she trusts God more than people intend. Just cause smiles hot and being hidden addiction. Still soft-hearted but she way less naive. Can't keep pouring love but there's nothing received. Still dancing slow through the hurt and confusion. Trying not to lose herself chasing illusions. She survived the fire. Still glowing through the smoke. Still still dangerous. Still chosen. She goes by golden. Snow so deep made the whole room notice. Heavy lies couldn't break what was chosen. Still standing tall while the whole world folding. She goes by golden. Heartbreak turned to pain cinematic. Now the tears got rhythm when she's singing. And they still don't know her like that. They still don't know her like that. Spend too much time looking for love in strangers. Spend too much time. Spend too much time letting outside voices shake the mirror. But at the end of the night, when the lights fade, when the city cried, when the tears dried, we still got